Please subscribe and like the video before continuing. Y&R Early Week Spoilers October 27th to 31st, Burrow's complication, Kyle's intensifying obsession, Nick's investigation. The Young and the Restless spoilers for the week of October 27th suggest some curveballs. Fans can expect Detective Burrow, Matt Cohen, to face some complications. Want more of The Young and the Restless? Get updates on the latest news about The Young and the Restless, straight to your inbox. We use your personal data for interest-based advertising, as outlined in our privacy notice. What is this? Report ad. Meanwhile, Kyle Abbott, Michael Mealer, will continue digging for dirt on Holden Novak, Nathan Owens. Keep reading and let's talk about what is coming up in the CBS soap opera. Kane Ashby and Phyllis Summers' new dynamic. Let's start off with Kane Ashby, Billy Flynn, and Phyllis Summers, Michelle Stafford. Kane was willing to hand the AI program over just for another chance with Lily Winters, Crystal Khalil. However, Phyllis has her own plans for the program. That led to Kane confronting Phyllis. After they exchange some heated debates, they will come to a new understanding. Kane Ashby and Phyllis Summers' new dynamic. Genoa City has always been a place where alliances shift like the wind and hearts collide in the most unexpected ways. But few could have predicted that Kane Ashby and Phyllis Summers would find themselves on a collision course, one that could redefine not only their futures but also the balance of power in the city. For years, both have danced on the edge of redemption and ruin, battling their inner demons and outer enemies in equal measure. Now, circumstances have thrown them together, creating a new dynamic that's as dangerous as it is intriguing. Phyllis Summers, fiery and unpredictable as ever, has been fighting her way back into relevance after countless missteps. She's been betrayed, manipulated, and written off more times than she can count. But if there's one thing Genoa City should know by now, it's that Phyllis doesn't stay down for long. This time, her comeback strategy isn't about revenge or love, it's about survival. And Kane Ashby, the once respected businessman who's been searching for a sense of purpose since his life imploded, may just be the key to that survival. Kane, still haunted by the ghosts of his past, his marriage to Lily, his betrayals, his business failures, has been a man drifting through the background of Genoa City. But that's about to change. Phyllis, always sharp enough to recognize potential where others see wreckage, sees in Kane someone who understands the weight of guilt and the hunger for a second chance. Their connection begins innocently enough, business discussions over drinks, shared confidences about regrets, late-night phone calls that blur the line between friendship and something far more combustible. But what begins as mutual empathy soon transforms into an undeniable spark. Both are dangerously drawn to each other's chaos, each one seeing a reflection of their own pain in the other's eyes. Kane has always been a man torn between integrity and impulse. Phyllis has never met a line she wouldn't cross if it meant getting what she wants. Together, they create a volatile mix of passion, vulnerability, and ambition that could either save them, or destroy them both. Genoa City begins to notice their connection. Whispers spread through the Grand Phoenix as guests and staff speculate about the late nights Kane spends in Phyllis's office. Jack Abbott, ever the concerned observer when it comes to please subscribe and like the video before continuing. Phyllis starts to ask questions. Lily, too, begins to take notice when Kane's phone lights up with messages from Phyllis that seem far too personal for a business partnership. Devon, still wary of Kane after their rocky history, warns him not to get tangled up with someone as unpredictable as Phyllis. But Kane insists that he's simply helping her with a new venture, business collaboration, as he calls it. Yet, anyone who knows Phyllis understands that when she starts collaborating, there's always more beneath the surface. Rumors swirl that Phyllis is quietly plotting a comeback move that could shake Genoa City's corporate world. With the Grand Phoenix under scrutiny, and new investors circling, she's been searching for someone with the right mix of charm, smarts, and risk tolerance to help her pull off her next big play. And Kane fits the bill perfectly. The question is, who's using whom? Some insiders suggest that Phyllis sees Kane as a pawn in a much larger scheme, one that could put her back on top and leave him caught in the fallout. Others believe that Phyllis has finally found someone she can trust, someone who doesn't judge her past but understands it. And surprisingly, Kane might just be falling for her sincerity, or at least what he believes to be sincerity. Their chemistry is undeniable. Those who've seen them together describe the tension as electric. A quiet dinner turns into laughter, laughter turns into a long gaze, and suddenly, the boundaries blur. Kane, who has tried to keep his life free of complications, finds himself caught in Phyllis's orbit once again, unsure whether he's resisting temptation or succumbing to it. Meanwhile, Phyllis finds herself at a crossroads she didn't anticipate. She's always used relationships as stepping stones, Nick, Jack, even Jeremy Stark, but this time, she feels something different. Kane doesn't look at her with suspicion or judgment, he sees her as someone worth fighting for, even when she's at her most unpredictable. That vulnerability terrifies her, and for Phyllis, fear often leads to sabotage. Behind the scenes, however, others are preparing to intervene. Jack has always felt a connection to Phyllis that he can't quite shake. When he learns about her growing closeness with Kane, he warns her not to repeat old mistakes. But Phyllis, being Phyllis, bristles at his interference. She insists she's in control, that Kane isn't just another fling, he's a partner in a project that could change everything. But that project, please subscribe and like the video before continuing, may not be as innocent as it seems. Phyllis has been in contact with a mysterious investor interested in buying a controlling share of Chancellor Winters. Kane, who still has deep connections in that world, has been helping her gather inside information under the guise of consulting. If this deal goes through, it could upend the entire business landscape of Genoa City. Devon, Lily, Jill, and even Billy could find themselves blindsided by Phyllis's maneuvering. Yet, the closer Phyllis and Kane get to sealing the deal, the more they're pulled into something far more personal. Late nights turn into confessions. Kane admits he's tired of running from who he was, that he wants to make something of himself again. Phyllis reveals her exhaustion with always being the villain, the one people blame for every disaster. Together, they start to imagine what life could be like if they stopped letting others define them. But Genoa City doesn't forgive easily. When word leaks about their secret meetings, chaos erupts. Devon confronts Kane, accusing him of betrayal. Lily, furious and hurt, tells him he's making a terrible mistake aligning himself with Phyllis. Meanwhile, Jack confronts Phyllis at the Grand Phoenix, accusing her of dragging Kane down into one of her messes. "You destroy everything you touch," he says coldly, to which Phyllis fires back, "Maybe I destroy things because no one ever believes I can build anything." The emotional fallout is immense. Kane finds himself torn between loyalty and love, between wanting to help Phyllis and wanting to prove to his family that he's changed. Phyllis, faced with yet another public scandal, begins to question whether she's doomed to repeat her mistakes forever. But just when it seems like everything is about to implode, an unexpected twist turns the story upside down. The mysterious investor turns out not to be who anyone expected, it's Tucker McCall. Tucker, always one to stir the pot, had been manipulating both Kane and Phyllis for his own gain, using their desperation and chemistry as tools in a larger corporate scheme. When Phyllis discovers the truth, she feels betrayed, but this time, she doesn't crumble. Instead, she and Kane join forces to outsmart Tucker, using his own tactics against him. In a stunning reversal, they manage to expose his plot and turn the tables, saving themselves and earning a surprising amount of respect in the process. By the end of this dramatic arc, Genoa City sees a different side of Kane and Phyllis. They're not just two broken souls trying to survive, they're survivors who have found a kind of redemption in each other. Whether their connection becomes love or fades into another lesson learned remains to be seen, but one thing is certain, their dynamic has changed the game. Phyllis Summers and Kane Ashby are no longer the outcasts on the sidelines, they're back in the spotlight, and this time, they're playing by their own rules. As the dust settles, whispers begin again. Some say Phyllis has finally found an equal. Others believe Kane has no idea what he's gotten himself into. But for now, they stand side. Nick Newman's investigation. In Los Angeles, Nick Newman, Joshua Morrow, and Sharon Newman, Sharon Case, will continue hoping that Noah Newman, Lucas Adams, wakes up. What is this? Report ad. The mother is staying at the hospital around the clock to wait for Noah to awaken. Meanwhile, Nick has been searching for answers on who could have run his son off the road that night. While Sienna Bacall, Tamara Braun, does introduce herself to Nick, she doesn't give him any intel about Noah. Meanwhile, the deceptive Detective Burrow will face complications of his own, especially since Nick is having Victor Newman, Eric Braden, look into things. Nick Newman's investigation. Genoa City has never been a city short on secrets, but this time, it's Nick Newman who's digging for the truth, and what he uncovers could shake the Newman family to its very core. For years, Nick has been the moral compass of the Newman clan, the one who always tried to rise above the manipulation and corporate warfare that defines his powerful family. But recent events have forced him to embrace a darker, more determined side of himself. Something has been off in Genoa City for weeks: strange meetings, unexplained disappearances, and business irregularities within Newman Enterprises that even Victor Newman himself can't, or won't, explain. Nick's instincts tell him something sinister is brewing, and he's not about to let it slide. It all begins when Nick stumbles upon a series of suspicious financial transactions buried deep within Newman Enterprises' overseas accounts. They're cleverly disguised, routed through shell companies and offshore holdings that trace back to a familiar name, someone who shouldn't have access at all. When Nick confronts the company's accounting team, they scramble for answers but give him nothing but excuses. That's when Nick realizes this isn't just a corporate error. Someone close to the family is manipulating Newman money for reasons no one will admit. His first thought is Adam. After all, Adam has a long history of scheming for power, and Nick has learned never to underestimate his brother. But as he digs deeper, he begins to doubt that Adam is behind this particular deception. The digital trail is too subtle, too cautious, and too sophisticated, more in line with someone who knows the family's business operations inside and out. That realization sends Nick down a path that could pit him against not just his brother, but possibly his father as well. Victor, ever the puppet master, has been. Please subscribe and like the video before continuing. Unusually quiet lately. His focus seems to have shifted toward his granddaughter Claire Grace Newman and the mysterious influence of her supposed rehabilitation. Yet even as Victor insists that the company is under control, Nick senses that his father is keeping something under wraps. It's not paranoia, Victor's smirk says it all. Sometimes, son, it's better not to know everything, Victor warns when Nick pushes too hard. But for Nick, that's not an option. The more people tell him to back off, the more determined he becomes to uncover the truth. He enlists Sharon's help, knowing she's always been his voice of reason and someone with a keen eye for reading people. Sharon warns him that digging too deep could backfire, especially if Victor's involved, but Nick won't let go. As the investigation unfolds, Nick discovers a trail of encrypted messages exchanged between Newman Enterprises executives and an anonymous figure known only by the initials, HN. Those initials raise immediate red flags, leading Nick to one name: Holden Novak. Holden, the shadowy manipulator recently connected to Claire and Sienna Bacall, has quietly been infiltrating Genoa City's most powerful families, aligning himself with their weaknesses and exploiting their secrets. Nick realizes Holden may be using Newman Enterprises for money laundering or worse, funding an operation designed to destabilize the Newman empire from within. Determined to confirm his suspicions, Nick starts his own covert mission. He pretends to play along with Victor's demands at work while secretly meeting with IT specialists, investigators, and contacts from his old days in security. As the puzzle pieces start to fit together, Nick becomes increasingly unsettled by what he finds. Holden's involvement runs deeper than anyone imagined, and Claire may have unknowingly been part of it. One night, while combing through encrypted archives on a secure Newman server, Nick uncovers a shocking file labeled Project Legacy. Inside are confidential communications, contracts, and surveillance photos of Claire, Sienna, and even Sharon. Nick's blood runs cold. Someone has been tracking everyone close to him for months. The deeper he dives, the clearer it becomes that this isn't about corporate espionage, it's personal. Someone is watching him, and they want him to stop. The threats begin subtly. An anonymous text appears on his phone: "Walk away before it's too late." His car alarm goes off at 3 a.m. several nights in a row. A figure lurks outside Sharon's coffeehouse after closing. Nick's protective instincts kick into overdrive. He's not just fighting for his family's company anymore, he's fighting to keep the people he loves safe. Meanwhile, Phyllis Summers gets wind of Nick's investigation and decides to insert herself into the chaos, claiming she can help him trace Holden's network through her own tech-savvy sources. Nick is please subscribe and like the video before continuing. Wary but reluctantly agrees. He knows Phyllis can uncover things others can't. Together, they uncover a shocking connection. Holden has been working with an insider, someone who has direct access to Newman's top security codes. That insider might be someone within the Newman family itself. Suspicion turns toward Victoria, whose loyalty to Victor has always been ironclad, but who's been acting increasingly erratic since Claire's return. When Nick confronts her, Victoria explodes, accusing him of trying to sabotage her leadership. But her defensiveness only makes him more suspicious. Could his sister be hiding something, or is she being manipulated by Holden the same way Claire was? Nick's world starts to unravel when he receives surveillance footage showing Claire meeting secretly with Holden at the Genoa City Athletic Club. She insists it was about closure, that she wanted answers about her past, but Nick can't be sure. He's torn between his protective instinct as an uncle and his growing fear that his niece might be a pawn in something much darker. Meanwhile, Victor becomes aware of Nick's secret investigation and calls him out in front of the family. In a tense confrontation at Newman Ranch, Victor's fury is palpable. "You think you're protecting this family, Nicholas?" he growls. "You're putting a target on all of us." Nick fires back, demanding to know the truth about Holden Novak and Project Legacy. For a brief moment, Victor's silence speaks volumes. Then he says, "Some battles are fought in the shadows for a reason. You're not ready for this war." That's all the confirmation Nick needs. Victor knows more than he's admitting. Determined to find answers, Nick breaks into Victor's private study one night and uncovers documents that reveal the horrifying truth. Victor has been conducting his own secret operation against Holden Novak, trying to smoke him out without alerting the authorities. But the cost of that secrecy has been immense. Victor allowed certain family members, including Claire, to remain under surveillance as bait. Nick feels betrayed. His father's obsession with control has once again put innocent lives at risk. Kyle Abbott's intensifying obsession. The Young and the Restless spoilers for the week of October 27th reveal that Kyle's obsession with finding dirt on Holden will increase. The young man might insist that Holden must have had something to do with Noah's crash. Later, Victoria Newman, Amelia Heinley, will end up going to LA as well. So, the woman, please subscribe and like the video before continuing. We'll check on Claire Grace Newman, Haley Aaron, as well as Noah. Kyle Abbott's intensifying obsession. Genoa City has seen its fair share of broken hearts, family feuds, and forbidden desires, but nothing compares to the storm brewing inside Kyle Abbott. The once charming heir to the Abbott legacy is unraveling before everyone's eyes, consumed by a dangerous obsession that threatens to destroy everything he's built, his career, his family, and possibly even himself. What began as curiosity has now spiraled into fixation, and the question on everyone's mind is simple: how far will Kyle go before it's too late? For years, Kyle has been the golden boy of the Abbott family. Handsome, ambitious, and fiercely loyal to those he loves, he was once seen as Jack Abbott's proud successor. But beneath that polished exterior lies a man haunted by rejection, betrayal, and a desperate need for control. His failed marriage to Summer Newman shattered his sense of stability, leaving behind scars that never quite healed. The more Kyle tried to move forward, the more he found himself looking backward, searching for something, or someone, to fill the growing emptiness inside him. Enter Sienna Bacall. Mysterious, confident, and unapologetically alluring, Sienna arrived in Genoa City with a reputation for stirring trouble, and Kyle was immediately drawn to her. What started as a flirtation quickly deepened into something darker. She challenged him, intrigued him, and made him feel alive in a way he hadn't since losing Summer. But Sienna isn't someone who plays by the rules, and the more Kyle got involved, the more he realized that she thrived on chaos. Yet that only pulled him in deeper. The Abbott family began noticing the changes almost immediately. Jack tried to reason with him, warning that Sienna was nothing but trouble. Diane, always protective of her son, voiced her concern that Kyle was falling into the same destructive patterns that once consumed her. Even Billy, who knows a thing or two about obsession and reckless choices, urged Kyle to step back before it was too late. But Kyle wouldn't listen. He insisted he was in control, that Sienna wasn't manipulating him, that their connection was real. In truth, Kyle's grip on reality was slipping. He started missing meetings at Jabot, neglecting his responsibilities, and lashing out at anyone who questioned his decisions. Every time he tried to walk away, Sienna pulled him back in with another secret, another confession, another night of passion that blurred the lines. Please subscribe and like the video before continuing. Between love and addiction. What Kyle doesn't realize is that Sienna isn't just another woman passing through Genoa City. She's connected to something far more dangerous, Holden Novak's network, the same mysterious force that has already tangled with Claire Grace Newman and others. Whether Sienna is a willing accomplice or another pawn remains unclear, but one thing is certain, she's using Kyle for her own purposes, and he's too blinded by obsession to see it. Jack's frustration reaches its peak when he discovers that Kyle has been quietly siphoning funds from a Jabot subsidiary to cover Sienna's mounting debts. When confronted, Kyle insists it's a misunderstanding, but his defensiveness only fuels suspicion. Diane, heartbroken, pleads with her son to wake up before he destroys everything. "You're not yourself anymore," she tells him. This isn't love, it's self-destruction. But Kyle's obsession with Sienna isn't just about desire. It's about control, validation, and the illusion of power. After years of feeling overshadowed by his family, by Jack's leadership, Billy's charisma, and even Diane's dramatic return, Kyle finally feels like he's the one calling the shots. But in reality, Sienna is pulling every string, and he's too far gone to see it. The turning point comes when Harrison, his young son, becomes collateral damage in Kyle's downward spiral. Summer, worried about Kyle's erratic behavior, begins to question whether he's stable enough to co-parent. She notices his mood swings, his disappearances, and his growing paranoia. When she confronts him about Sienna, Kyle explodes, accusing her of trying to turn everyone against him. "You think you're?" Please subscribe and like the video before continuing. "Perfect," he snaps. "At least I'm not pretending anymore. I know who I am." But the truth is, he doesn't. The obsession has consumed him completely. He starts following Sienna without realizing it, watching her meetings, checking her messages, desperate to know who else she's seeing. His jealousy turns to rage when he discovers she's been meeting secretly with Holden Novak. The confrontation that follows is explosive. Kyle demands to know the truth, but Sienna plays coy, twisting his emotions and leaving him even more confused. "You don't trust me," she says softly, her voice dripping with mock hurt. "And yet, you can't stay away." He can't. No matter how many times he tries to break free, something keeps pulling him back. The line between love and obsession blurs completely when Kyle begins investigating Sienna's past, uncovering pieces of a story that doesn't add up. Her background, her connections, even her name, it's all smoke and mirrors. But instead of running, Kyle becomes even more determined to save her. He convinces himself that she's in danger, that Holden is manipulating her, and that only he can protect her. Jack and Diane watch helplessly as their son spirals out of control. They try interventions, family dinners, even therapy sessions, but nothing reaches him. Every warning sounds like betrayal in Kyle's ears. "You don't understand," he insists. "This isn't just some fling. She needs me." But in reality, he needs her. She's become his escape, his addiction, his obsession, and she knows it. Meanwhile, whispers begin to circulate around Genoa City. Phyllis Summers, ever the gossip magnet, overhears Sienna on the phone with someone she calls HN and puts two and two together. When she shares her suspicions with Jack, it confirms his worst fears. Sienna's been working with Holden Novak all along. But exposing her isn't easy. Sienna is clever and manipulative, always one step ahead. When Jack confronts her directly, she turns the tables, accusing him of trying to control Kyle's life and push her out. Kyle, hearing only "Please subscribe and like the video before continuing." Fragments of the confrontation, turns on his father. The rift between them deepens, echoing the same painful family fractures that have plagued the Abbotts for generations. As Kyle's obsession intensifies, his world begins to collapse. Sienna starts to pull away, claiming she needs space. But for Kyle, space is unbearable. He starts showing up at her hotel,